I think the odds would be very, very great on that. Okay, moving forward. If anybody has anything to add, please say something. Okay, here
We
we'll.
are having some technical issues, but we'll just keep rolling.
Okay.
Just keep going, and we'll see how it goes.
Oh, is everybody? Can you see the PowerPoint
Yes.
still?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What I'd like to do is read what we have here, what's been written, and this is syllabic types and branch placement of the syllabic. This guide has been created to help those individuals involved in this study to understand exactly how each individual syllabic or symbol is assembled. Each individual syllabic is made of tree branches, tree saplings, or large tree trunks of various lengths and diameters, which are placed horizontally on the ground or created vertically by leaning branches, small tree saplings, or tree trunks against other larger trees or vertical objects to create the geometric shape, such as an X, square, box, three-sided box, triangle, and the star or the wheel. Each branch of a syllabic is precisely placed in order. Winona Alexis notes that each branch is placed in a clockwise direction, starting with the base branch and rotating to the right, as shown in Exhibit A here. This observation has been made in most horizontal and vertical syllabics. Thus far, 13 possible syllabic have been identified. Both include horizontal and vertical syllabic symbols of various shapes. It is possible other syllabic will be discovered during the study by responses being made to the syllabic symbols placed by those involved in the study. If this occurs, the list will be updated as need be. Branch placement is evidently very important considering the syllabic that have been placed have had branches rearranged and placed in specific direction. The smallest of details are very important also. In Tina Harder's syllabic symbol pattern 1, which is Exhibit B here to the left, the branches of each X, the left and the right, placed on the ground were rearranged or replaced. Branch A of the left X was switched with the bottom branch, having the curved side of the branch placed down, and branch B of the right X was replaced with a different branch that did not have a small fork at the end. The stem of the syllabik was removed totally. We can hypothesize these are grammatical corrections being made to the syllabic. Each branch involved in the making of each syllabic should be straight and free of bows, forked ends. The branches should not be cut with mechanical devices, but broken as to match those being found in the field, or made by branches that have been gathered matching the length and diameter of the syllabic schematic. And this is just the starting point of how the symbols should be placed. Very important because what we found is just the slightest error in placing these symbols. They're either not messed with or they're corrected. And we'll get to that point here shortly. But first we'd like to go ahead and get into the guidelines that we have set up. Here it says the guidelines were created in 2011, started in 2010, and then we have a list of researchers at the bottom. Let me go back over here for just a second. Okay, and what we did is we created guidelines to follow in order to keep things flowing and keep documentation coming in the way it should be.
I'd like your screen share. I don't know if anybody else has.
No, I have it.
Oh, okay, keep going then. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, I guess that's one good reason. One reason to read them in case somebody's, if it's lost.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, here are the syllabic study guidelines. There are many guidelines which apply to this study, and each one should be strictly adhered to in order to help reach our goals and give structure to what we're doing. Number one is syllabic placement in water. The direction of the syllabic should be pointing, after placing it on the ground, is towards the nearest water source. If at all possible, place the syllabic within 500 yards of the water source. And the reason for this part of the guideline is there are a lot of game trails moving to and from water sources, and it would be a good place for a symbol to be placed off the main trail in case the subject was actually moving to and from the water source, and it would be noticed more easily. Okay, number 2, we'll get into what I was just talking about, syllabic placement in trails. The syllabic should be placed within 3 feet or less of a game trail or man-made trail. The preferred trail is a game trail off the beaten path, away from human activity. This will reduce the chances of human interference with the syllabic. If a structure has been found that is believed to be Sasquatch-related, place the syllabic along the trail near the structure. If a game trail is not available, then use a man-made trail, but only use a man-made trail as a last resort. Do not place the syllabic on the trail because of wildlife or humans excuse me, could move it and disrupt any changes in the syllabic. And that's one of the reasons that we're using game trails, not so much the human trails. But something really interesting happened as far as trail placing them next to a trail. Something happened in Tina Harder's area, which was when she placed a symbol. As a matter of fact, placed the first symbol, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. Number 3 is syllabic pattern choice. The first syllabic pattern to be used in the study is syllabic pattern number 1. This pattern should be used until all changes have been made in the rotation or has not been touched at all. A decision will be made by those involved in the study as to what syllabic pattern will be used next. Allow the pattern being used to remain in place for 2 weeks before suggesting a pattern change. And the reason for this is we wanted everybody in the study to stay on the same page. That way, if one pattern was changed and there was no activity to the symbol at all, no branch manipulation, we could take and move this, change the pattern to see if we could get a response that way. Okay, and now this is number 7 of the guidelines, documentation of findings and the compilation of evidence. The documentation of our findings during the study is the most important aspect of the study. It allows us to reference and cross-reference pertinent information pertaining to the study and develops hypotheses and theories. While transferring field notes to your syllabic database on your computer, please use the Times New Roman font while filling out any information sheets. This is the font excuse me, this is the font used for filling out scientific forms of any kind. Use it for your header titles also. Each of your databases should be identical, starting with the main file folder titled Syllabic Study and having identical subfolders that will hold information pertaining to every aspect of the study. I'm creating a chart that shows how the database should look, starting with the main file folder, Syllabic Study, and all subfolders that go into it. This chart will be easy to read and follow. It will be available as soon as it was completed. Be sure to fill out each section of the documentation chart upon returning from the syllabic area, being sure to transfer all information from your field notes onto the documentation charts. And this actually set up and the way things were to be done during the study, keeping track of our information and our documentation and how it should be filed and what files it should be filed into. Okay. Are we having any more problems here, or is it?
Nope.
I'm seeing it, yeah.
It's good.
Okay. If anybody has anything to add, please feel free. Okay. Now, what we'd like to do now is go through the syllabic study habitat. These are the documentation sheets, starting with page 1, which is the syllabic study habitat description. And up at the top, you can see you have the pattern number, which was the pattern number of the symbol or syllabic that was being placed, and the date. Then you have the habitat location, the forest type or types, available known food sources, trails, water sources, wildlife species, terrain, and even the elevation. And then at the bottom of the page we have notes if needed, a place to write down notes and other information. But it covers just about everything there is on the habitat description from the wildlife, game, prey, vegetative food sources, so on and so forth. That's just to start. Then you have the syllabics, have page 2, which is the pattern and placement information. And the pattern number and the date, once again, and the date and time the syllabic was placed. Syllabic pattern number, which at this point in time went through pattern number 14. The syllabic direction, the syllabic branch length and diameter, the syllabic branch tree species. I thought this was important to know. It might help find anecdotal evidence, finding where these trees are at, and if they're using a specific tree species. Then we have was a syllabic schematic followed? Yes or no? Then we list the branch placement in order left to right, so on and so forth. The syllabic distance from the trail type, the syllabic study area, the location and the terrain, water source type, syllabic distance from water source, human activity levels, none, low, moderate, or high, weather conditions, and even the moon phases. And there's been a lot of great information gathered on moon phases during this study. It's pretty incredible. Okay, we'll move on to the next page. We have the pre-existing evidence sheet. This is pre-existing evidence prior to the syllabic placement. Footprints, and it goes into the length, the heel width, ball width, depth, and the stride. Tree break or tree breaks, limb twist and breaks, syllabic being found in the area. Sightings, sighting distance from the syllabic, vocalizations, uprooted trees, hair samples, shelters, limb structures, nest or bedding. Then we have other. Then, of course, we have notes at the bottom of the page. Moving on. Then we have the syllabic changes and syllabic additions. The date and time change noticed, the branch movement, the syllabic branch change, the branch rotation, and this falls into the first pattern that we used as far as the branch rotation. The syllabic branch movement direction, clockwise or counterclockwise. The branch letter, new syllabic added, new syllabic branch length and diameter, inclement weather prior to changes, new syllabic distance from the water source, weather conditions, and again the moon phases. So this is the information sheets that we used and are still using to this day, considering this is an ongoing study, and it helps provide pertinent information about what's being found in the field as far as the symbols are concerned. And this, and the next one is the first pattern that we used in the field. This is pattern number 1. The symbol that we used is similar to a linear B script. And when we placed this symbol in the field, the changes that we had were incredible, but very, 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 very frustrating. I know Tina and everybody was it was a hard time to figure out. But what had happened is that the symbol was placed in the correct location, off of a main trail, a game trail, and things began to happen. And what happened was, if you notice here to the right, it says Pattern 1 Progression Chart. This happened. And Tina, can you go into what happened after